Oh no.
Oh no.
When your parents work, the children end up
I have a medical
with
degree.
stunted
Let me tell you what really
emotionally.
stunts children's growth. Not having access to health care, inadequate funding for school nutrition programs, guns, the ultimate public health crisis, cigarettes. I hear Governor Pence missed the memo, but they do in fact cause cancer, Governor, and no amount of tobacco money contributions to your campaign can change that, Governor. The choice in this election is for interests around the world, and who knows what it takes to defeat and destroy ISIS, not with ignorant bluster and bombast, but with a toughness and resolve. We need a president who will ensure that we play by the same rules as hard-working middle-class Americans. Care is a basic human right. And if that is the president we want, if that is the America that we believe in,
Yeah.
then do not wait until November to make your voice heard.
What
Go
you
to
doing? You seem like you're hard
HillaryClinton.com to
at work.
donate right now.
Just draw.
Drawing?
Help
You're drawing on there?
history.
Is there some
And
software on there?
volunteer.
Let me see.
Because this race is going to be won.
Whoa! I can't believe it. Are you gonna take that to?
And in Iowa, and North
I can't
Carolina,
believe you
and
do.
Michigan, and Florida, and
What would you do with a laptop?
go to the White House.
No.
That'd be awesome. Bigger canvas.
Huge amount of laughter here, Jake. A lot of us remember when he did that originally. He wasn't trying to be funny then.
The famous or infamous Dean scream, the night that he lost the Iowa caucuses back in
There's
2004. A little recreation of it. The crowd loved it.
They certainly did. It's a moment we won't forget. Elizabeth Banks, the actress, producer, and director, about to introduce another video.
Thank you. In which the Barton Bellas went to the World Acapella Championships, so I know a thing or two about world affairs. But I still have a lot to catch. As our Secretary of State, our nation's chief diplomat, she traveled to 112 countries and flew nearly 1 million miles. Why did she take the job? America and the world to sit on the other side of the table, from Russia, from China, from Canada. Hillary Clinton
Yeah,
used
Australian
her
girls.
office to bring new focus and attention to sex trafficking, human rights abuses, and the plight of women. International
like
Report on
had
Trafficking.
a text to
The
go to a
one
party
that
and say,
nations
okay, yeah,
use
we're the
to
parents.
improve their prosecutions.
Okay,
and
sweetie,
she
just go
made
on to that
our
party.
country accountable. She added the United States of America to that list because she knows that if we are going to be a beacon for the world, then we have to get our own house in order. And when Hillary said human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights, she named sex trafficking as a violation of those rights. She didn't just say it anywhere, my fellow delegates. She said it in China. She came home from Beijing and she supported the first trafficking law in our country. Years later, she supported my bipartisan bill that's helping law enforcement crack down on trafficking and make sure the kids who are trafficked are treated as the victims that they are and not as criminals. Fellow delegates, human trafficking is the third biggest criminal enterprise in the world. As long as ISIS is selling girls for $165 and parents in Nigeria are left with nothing but bows and arrows to chase a terrorist who steal their daughters in the middle of the night, we will never world. Because when women are held back, democracies falter. When women are bound and treated as sex slaves, tyrants rule. Opportunity for women is not a sign of a country's weakness. It is a sign of a nation's strength. Or maybe, just maybe, Mark Twain said it best. Scarce. Elevating women across the world so they're treated with dignity and respect, that's what Hillary Clinton will do. And if that means playing the woman card, Donald Trump, let me tell you, there are hundreds of millions of women in this world who are ready to play that card. You know, part of how we make this better is by telling the truth, laying out the facts, and sharing our stories. Here with us tonight is someone who has experienced the devastation of human trafficking. It is hard to put to words the horror she's faced, but Ima Matul has the courage to speak out. We all have a voice. This election, let's use it. We welcome you to the stage, Ima.
What is this?
Thank you, Senator, for your work and your words. Never in my wildest dream that I have imagined that I would share a stage with so many leaders and visionaries. I grew up in a poor village in Indonesia. When I was 17 years old, with the promise of a job as a nanny. Instead, I spent the next 3 years in domestic servitude being abused. When I finally had the courage to escape my trafficker, I found a home at the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking. country. Before human trafficking began to capture our attention, before there were laws to identify and protect, Hillary Clinton was fighting to end modern slavery. And throughout her career, Hillary kept up the fight. Human trafficking is not just happening overseas. It is happening right here in our backyard. Every day, I hear stories just like my own. Still, I have hope. There is a growing awareness about the devastating impact of human trafficking. There is growing embrace of survivors in our communities and businesses and churches. And there is a growing commitment to finding innovative solutions to make sure this generation of survivors will be the last. I have hope, especially that Hillary Clinton is becoming president. As a survivor and an advocate, I have hope that we can end human trafficking. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. My fellow Americans, good evening. Your Democrats gathered to smart and experienced presidential candidate. At the time, I was a child in Europe, where I lived in fear because my native Czechoslovakia had been taken over by communists. But and that candidate, Harry Truman, became my first American president. Tonight, in Philadelphia, we nominated someone with Truman's fighting spirit to be our next president, Hillary Clinton. And this our next era. With these threats, we need a keep America strong, because I have seen her fight and win for our country and for causes that count. When Hillary was First Lady, we went to the Beijing Women's Conference, and she courageously stood up and spoke out on behalf of human rights and women's rights, inspiring millions to fight for a better future. We went to Prague, where I showed her the city of my birth, and made her eat Czech cabbage. She didn't like it very much. We met with Václav Havel, whom she did like very much, because he made so many dreams of freedom come true. When Hillary served in the Senate, I saw her work day and night as a member of the Armed Services Committee, Republicans and Democrats, to keep our military strong and protect our troops and their families. And when Hillary served as Secretary of State, I watched her partner with President Obama to restore our country's reputation around the world. She fought terrorism. She stopped, and she promoted diplomacy, defense, development, and democracy, smart power, in every corner of the world. As I travel around the world today, is that the person
represents a... So I know where she got her study habits. We are both mothers and grandmothers, so I know where she got her management skills. We are both very proud of our daughters and grandsons, so we must have done something right. But we also know what it's like to step off that plane with the word...
What assessment?
It is a complex, round-the-clock job that demands not only a steady hand and a cool head, but also a big heart.
Looks cute.
You're not just ready. He has undermined our fight against terrorism by alienating our Muslim partners. He has weakened our standing in the world by walk away from our friends and our allies.
Yep.
And by nuclear weapons. When asked about Putin, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "In terms of leadership, he's getting an A."
It's just so
The
cute.
truth is that a Trump victory in November would be a gift to Vladimir
He's an idiot.
who fled disaster. We would must make sure that this never happens. Fellow Americans, at the age of 11, I sailed past the started my life in the world's greatest democracy.
Bill Clinton.
I am so
Bill
grateful
Clinton.
to our country. I'm saying Hillary Clinton because I love it. God bless America and God bless the American people.
Up next, the main speech of the night, the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton. He'll be introduced with a video with a video right now.
What's
When I was a little boy, my favorite thing to
Bill Clinton.
meet people. They taught me that everybody's got a story. I began to make a connection that there was something you could do if you got elected to help people live better lives.
Dear President Bill Clinton.
Dear Mr. Bill Clinton,
Dear President Clinton. Thank you so much for this opportunity to write you.
I am writing this letter.
I was a 19-year-old single mom with an 8th grade education. I lived in a garage, collected welfare, and anguished over the real possibility of my child growing up and
Your message permeated the country. Thank you for believing in me. There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
For Bill Clinton, the work begins and ends with people. Under his administration, 23 million jobs were created and our country had a budget surplus. He signed the Family and Medical Leave Act and gave historic tax relief to working poor families. His actions have changed millions of lives for the better.
See, look how diverse that place is.
People out of poverty has moved out when President Reagan was in office with 40% more jobs. That meant we were empowering more people to take control of their own lives.
This farm's been in our possession for about 180 years now.
Joseph Robert Nudie, Toledo, Ohio. My father worked for Chrysler, and then I started in 1996. Both sides of my family, was always union. So we believe in us and the working family.
Things were good to the Clinton era. We put away, retired a lot of debt, and I think that's important.
93, 94 was a big boom. Mr. Clinton was captivating. Like when he said stuff, you believed it, because you lived it.
My name is Jorge Angeles. I came to this country in '88. It was virtually impossible to get a house. And then under Bill Clinton, how he cared for you.
I remember I was in this rural county. This guy was standing there talking to me one day, and he said, we don't want a handout, but we do want a handout.
places like the Central Highlands in Africa, where he was struck by the simple power of each other.
One will say, how are you? And the answer is not, I'm fine, how are you? The answer translated into English is, I see you. That's inherently empowering. You have to be able to look at somebody and actually see them and at least imagine what their lives are like. I spent a lifetime trying to do that.
In 1999, I graduated in the top 3% of my law class. UCLA.
If you get people out of poverty, children are likely to be out of poverty.
I feel like I'm a Clinton baby. The reason why, I aspire to get my business degree. He instilled that belief in my mom. In turn, she passed that down to me.
Dear Cynthia, and for what you said about the impact of my presidency on
Each other. You get up in the morning and you really
I want to thank you. You opened my eyes when I was 18. I'm living the greatest dream I could ever imagine.
Mi casa es su casa.
My house is your house.
That's what I tried to make people believe they could do.
Bill
Welcome the 42nd
Oh,
president.
Bill Clinton.
The only thing you can hate on him is about the Lewinsky thing, but other than that, I like him.
He's a good guy. He's a handsome man.
What?
Puerto Rico. Oh, sorry, I just had to say Puerto Rico.
Where's that from? Something.
Thank you. Thank you. I met a girl. The first time I saw her, we were, appropriately enough, in a class on political and civil rights. She had thick blonde hair, big glasses. And she exuded this sense of strength and self-possession that I found magnetic. After the class, I followed her out, intending to introduce myself. I got close enough to touch her, but I couldn't stop. I saw her several more times. Classmate who wanted me to join the Yale Law Journal. He said it would guarantee me a job at a big firm or a clerkship with a federal judge. I really wasn't interested. I just wanted to go home. And momentarily, I was speechless. White, flowery skirt. And I went up to her and she said, and asked her to take a walk down to the art museum. We've been walking and talking and laughing together ever since. And we've done it in good times and bad, through joy and memory. After the first month and that first walk, I actually drove her home to Park Ridge, Illinois, to people from Illinois here. They even next year here. Now her mother was different. She was more liberal than the boys, and she had a child in mind. reminded me all over again of the truth of that old saying, you should never judge a book by its cover. Knowing her was one of he took the rest of his life. This will be the only campaign of hers he ever missed. When she got to college, her support for civil rights, her opposition to the Vietnam War, compelled her to change parties and become a Democrat. And then, between college and law school, on a total lark, she was fish. Already been involved in the law school's legal services project, and she'd been influenced by Marion Wright Edelman. She took a summer internship interviewing workers in migrant camps for Senator Walter Mondale's subcommittee. She'd also begun working in the Yale New Haven Hospital to develop procedures to handle suspected child abuse cases. She got so involved that she actually took an extra year in law working at the Child Study Center to learn what more could be done to improve the lives and the futures of poor children. So, she was already determined to figure out how to make things better. Hillary opened my eyes to a whole new world of public service by private citizens. In the summer of 1972, she went to Dothan, Alabama, to visit one of those segregated academies that then enrolled over 500,000 white kids in the South. Only way the economics worked is that they claimed federal tax exemptions to which they were not legally entitled. She got sent to prove they weren't. So she sauntered into one of these academies all by herself, pretending to be a housewife that had just moved to town and needed to find a school for her son. And they exchanged pleasantries, and finally she said, look, let's just get to the bottom line here. If I enroll my son in this school, will he be in a segregated school, yes or no? And the guy said, absolutely. She had him. I've seen it 1,000 times since. And she went back, and her education then she went down to South Texas, where she met one of the wonderful. And our last year in law school, Hillary kept up this work. She went to South Carolina to see why so many young. She went to in prison. And she filed a report on that, which led to some changes too. Always making things better.
Hey, Mom. I'd like to point out, Donald Trump never had a chance to do something bad in politics until now, so.
I first proposed to her on a trip to Great Britain, the first time she'd ever been overseas, and we were on the shoreline of this wonderful little Interdale. I asked her to marry me, and she said, I can't do it. So in 1974, I went home to teach in the law school, and Hillary moved to Massachusetts to keep working on children's issues. It's ultimately the Congress to adopt the proposition that children with disabilities, physical or otherwise, should have equal access to public education.
Bill is posting a bunch of stuff again.
You saw the results
Mom, look at this. Can you spot the difference? Look. This is why.
She never made fun of people with disabilities. She tried to empower them based on their abilities.
Can Can you swap the difference?
Meanwhile,
Oh, one's Trump and one's Hillary.
No, the American flags and there's no American flags here.
Oh.
So the second time I asked, I tried a different tack. I said,
Voting for Hillary
really
because she's a
want you to
woman.
marry me,
It's like
but
in
you-
a Tootsie.
she
What?
smiled
Who's
and looked
that?
at me like, what is this boy up
Bill
to?
posted these. I posted
She
these.
said
Bill
that is not a
posted
very
these.
good sales pitch.
Yeah.
I said,
Or just because she's a woman.
who want to go into politics,
Then one last one.
they mean well, and
It's
they
not by Hillary.
do things to make positive changes in people's lives. So, I suggested she go
Well,
to
they're gonna talk to
Illinois or
talk
move to
about
New York and look for a chance to run for office. She just laughed and said, are you out of your mind? Nobody would ever vote for me. So, I finally got
Do
her
you
to come
get it?
visit me in Arkansas.
Here, do you want me to zoom
And
in?
Yeah.
when she did, the president offered her a teaching position. And she decided to take a huge chance. She moved to a strange place, more rural, more culturally conservative than any place she'd ever been, where she knew good and well people would wonder what in the world she was like and whether they could or should accept her. Didn't take them long to find out what she was like. What do you expect? I'm just from Arkansas. She said, don't tell me that. You're as smart as anybody. You just got to believe in yourself and work for it and set high goals.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like he's like Trump. He'll take out everything out of context.
Legal aid services.
Wait, does that mean like he just takes some information out and just not like?
Yeah.
One day,
I know where they get
taking her to the airport to fly back to Chicago.
It don't matter what happened back then, as long as you believe in the same thing. Then guess who's racist now?
Boy, that's a pretty house. It had 1,100 square feet, an attic fan and no air conditioner in hot Arkansas, and a screened-in porch. Hillary was. So I took a big chance. I bought the house.
That's
My
awesome.
mortgage was $175 a month. When she came back, I picked her up and I said, "You remember that house you liked?" She said, "Gone, I bought it. You have to marry
I'm
me now."
recording this. Is it recording?
The third time was the charm. Married in that little house on October the 11th, 1975. I married my best friend.
Okay.
I was still in awe after more than 4 years of being around her at how smart and strong
Honey,
and loving
I
and
don't
caring
really
she
like
was.
that you're messing with this speech.
And I really
Oh,
hope
sorry. I was trying to see if it was
that her
recorded.
choosing me and rejecting my advice to pursue her own career was a decision she would never regret. A little over a year later, we moved to Little Rock when I became Attorney General, and she joined Mississippi. Soon, it's still active today. In 1979, just after I became governor, to do that partly by deploying trained nurses in place. It was a big deal then. And just tried to persuade people it was the right thing to do. It wasn't the only big thing that happened that spring. My first year as governor, we found out we were going to be parents. And time passed. On February 27th, 1980, 15 minutes after I got home from the National Governors Conference in Washington, Hillary's water broke and I went to the hospital. Chelsea was born just before midnight. And it was the greatest moment of my life. The miracle of a new beginning. The whole film the next 17 years. Through nursery school, Montessori, kindergarten, through t-ball, softball, soccer, volleyball, and her passion for ballet. Through sleepovers, summer camps, family vacations, and Chelsea's own very ambitious excursions. From Halloween parties in the neighborhood to a Viennese waltz gala in the White House. Hillary, first and foremost, was a mother. She became, as she often said, our family's designated warrior, born with an extra responsibility gene. Truth is, we rarely disagreed on parenting, although she did believe that I had gone a little over the top when I took a couple of days off with Chelsea to watch all 6 Police Academy movies back to back.
Hey, Mom.
Henry says the minimum wage needs to be
What are we going to do?
15.
Here's what we're going to do.
Henry says the
You're gonna
minimum
get a
wage needs
job.
to be
We're going to
$15.
enjoy being
Oh,
Chelsea's parent.
okay then, yay!
And if you don't want to run again,
Yeah, but
you gotta go
at least I
out and
have
talk to
some
people,
respect for
figure out
this
what
man.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want. In 1982, I became the first governor in the history of our state to be elected, defeated, and elected again. I think my experience is it's a pretty good thing to follow her advice. 1983, in all 75 counties with our committee. She came up with really ambitious recommendations. For example, that we be the first school in America, first state in America to require elementary counselors in every school because so many kids were having trouble at home. So,
Wow, Mom. Bill posted 2 more new things.
Wow.
This time he is like, I think he hates Michigan for some reason. He says some people hate Trump, some people hate Hillary, but everyone hates Michigan.
You know, I just
well, by the time I ran for
The
president,
only reason
1.7 cost you any more money. They approved. They know you because they see you is thinking their lives matter. They know you, and that's one reason the approval of the United States was. She took it at the Republican convention. What's the difference in what I told you and what they said? Which is which, my fellow Americans? The real one had done more positive change making than public officials do. The real one.
Where do you think I've been? Oh my god. Yeah, but you should keep track of me because you already know.
You can vote online.
I don't even know you can do that.
Life in the real world is complicated and real change is hard. And a lot of people even think it's boring.
Happy.
I have lived a long, full, blessed life. It really took off when I met and fell in love with God in 1971. I worked and she is still the best darn change maker I have ever known. You could drop her. You could drop her into any trouble spot. Pick one.
Are you done?
Come back in a month.
No.
And somehow,
Does it look done?
she will
It does.
It's not.
That's just who she is. There are clear, achievable, affordable responses to our challenges. But we won't get to them if America makes the wrong choice. We were going to lose. So look those coal miners in the eye and say, that if you
So what are you doing?
America's future. Obey a law, and you should choose immigration reform over somebody who wants to send you back.
Stop being random. Stop being random.
If you're a
You're just being
Muslim,
random.
if you're a Muslim and you love America and freedom and you hate terror, stay here and help us win and make a future together.
Zoe.
We want you. Doing it. I hope you'll do it. Those of
Shush.
us who have more
Child.
yesterday
Hi.
than tomorrow tend to care more about our children and grandchildren.
Listen.
I need to look up, why are we donkeys? Why are we donkeys and the Republicans are elephants?
I heard him deliver a speech along those lines, clearly embracing the notion of becoming a political spouse. A speech, Jake Tapper, almost exclusively not about himself, but about his wife.
A truly remarkable speech. One of the things that you realize from the speeches, first of all, he still has it. He still is one of the great speech givers of this time and really one of the great storytellers of his time. He started out with a line that could have been written by Harper Lee in To Kill a Mockingbird. In the spring of 1971, I met a girl. And then he goes and lays out the case. In this election, we have a very stark difference between somebody who is really identified with the status quo, Hillary Clinton, and somebody who I think it's agreed, whether you like him or not, represents change, and that's Donald Trump. Now, his job here was clearly to represent change, talking about all the ways that she changed things in Arkansas. He said she's never satisfied with the status quo, talking about the stories told about Hillary Clinton and the stories told about Donald Trump, and saying, you comes to change, she's the real one.
Talking about meeting a girl in the spring of 1971, but then making it clear that she was sort of the object of desire, which I know that sounds maybe a little bit, quaint or whatever, but it actually is incredibly important politically for people to hear this, because she has become, as he was saying, in many ways a caricature, because people feel that they know her, and certain Republicans try to paint her in a certain way last week, but talking about her as magnetic, and you really did try to feminize her. Never mind as somebody who wanted to date and go after her. Tried to get her married 3 times, but also then, as he went through the years, a young mother, a working mother, and really trying to bring that part of her out that people don't really get to see.
And he took on the Republicans at the end of his speech. He really went after them. He said that that Republican of her you heard was real, the other is made up. I told you about the one who gets very, very as effectively done what she's trying to do all of these years.
He described, he said caricature. What he said was cartoon.
Hey Lydia, have you ever heard of Alicia Keys?
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Such a compelling change maker, you have to create a cartoon. It's much easier to run against that. The case that he's trying to make here is, yes, you've been hearing about Hillary Clinton for decades, but what you've been hearing about is not the real Hillary. Don't believe it. Believe the real person, beloved by her friends, dating all the way back.
Number of states. Okay, this is another example. Has it? The way he talked about, from Illinois, that she talked about.
It's not enough just to say subcommittee. It has to be the subcommittee headed by Walter Mondale. That young girl, and not in school because it's the Clinton campaign and their case against Donald Trump. She doesn't believe in making fun of the disabled. She believes in empowering them.
And also this whole notion that the military is a disaster. She doesn't believe that. He doesn't believe that either. All right, well, I'm going to be introducing this moment, a very powerful moment.
America! I just said America.
Of course you do. Yes.
To be the first disguised as a man in George Washington's Continental Army. And she fought to defend a document that didn't fully defend her. All men are created equal, it read. No mention of women. And when she took a blast in battle to her leg, she was
sleeping on the carpet.
And she sewed herself back up again. That's grit. And grace? Hillary Clinton has. Where do any of our female firsts, our path breakers, where Sandra Day O'Connor, Rosa Parks, Amelia Earhart, Harriet Tubman, Sally Ride,
I think you need to.
These women share something in common. Capacity of mind, fullness of heart, and a burning passion for their cause. They have forged new paths to men and women. Generation on generation. That's what I'm talking about. That's America. And tonight, more than 200 years after Deborah Sampson fought, and nearly 100 years after women got the vote, you people have made history. Yes. And you're going to make history again in November. Because Hillary Clinton will be our first woman president.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And she will be a great president. And she will be the first in a long line of women and men who serve with grit and grace. She'll be the first, but she won't be the last. And now, the video.
A more perfect union. It's what our founding fathers set out to create 240 years ago. A union built on simple beliefs that all men are created equal, with a right to life, liberty, and happiness. But writing these words was not enough. Every generation would have to act on them. We would all need to be founders of this great nation. These were our founders too, who fought to make sure all men were not only created equal, but treated that way. These were the founders who stood up to say that all men meant women too. And these were the founders who marched to Stonewall and the Supreme Court for the right to be accepted for who they are and to love who they want. We needed founders to create the impossible, to say that victory was bigger than a game, to help us think bigger.
Oh, Steve Jobs.
Bigger, to change the world and the way we see it.
Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
But not all founders live in our history books. Most are brave, everyday Americans who make our country greater, one small act at a time. Founders who fill us with knowledge. A little girl is
You look
watching
it up,
this
I
moment with her mother and grandmother, father and brother, and realizing that she too can truly be anything she wants to be.
Yeah.
The president. Tonight, we know justice and equality. A woman who will not stop fighting men of that. A woman fighting to make our great nation more perfect for all.
I dedicate this song to the mothers of the movement and all mothers who have lost their sons and their daughters to senseless violence. Country, we can't claim home of the brave. Nothing seems complete. Stand up and I'm searching for the better part of me. Hang my head from sorrow, state of humanity.